All right, we are looking at one of the most legendary, awe-inspiring, and frankly, fearsome machines ever built. We're talking about the Nissan R32 Skyline GTR. Now, if you love engineering that pushes boundaries to the absolute breaking point, you are definitely in the right place. Today, in this explainer, we aren't just looking at a fast car, we're breaking down a meticulously engineered weapon that completely shattered the world of motorsports. So get comfortable, focus in, and let's unravel the story of the vehicle they rightfully called Godzilla.
Okay, let's dive into this central mystery. It's one thing to build a championship-winning car, right? But it is a completely different thing to build a car so utterly dominant, so vastly superior to everything else on the track, that the organizing bodies literally have to rewrite the rulebooks just to stop it. And that is exactly what happened here. The R32 didn't just beat the competition, it broke the entire system. To understand how, we have to look at the climate that birthed this monster in the first place.
I mean, just listen to this quote. This wasn't some minor grumble from a rival team in the pits. This was the mainstream international press, specifically the prestigious Australian publication Wheels magazine, reacting in sheer terror. They dubbed it a cultural threat. So that's the tone we're setting right away. This wasn't a friendly Sunday race. This was a monster movie playing out on the asphalt. A technological beast from Japan had arrived on foreign shores, and it was tearing the establishment to shreds.
Part 1. The Awakening.
To understand why Godzilla was created, we really have to look at the core problem. At the time, Group A racing was the premier touring car category globally, but it was being absolutely dominated by the Ford Sierra RS500. The European-engineered Sierra was practically untouchable. Now, Nissan had been fielding the R31 Skyline GTSR, and while it fought hard, it just wasn't enough to dethrone the reigning champ. Group A rules were incredibly strict. You couldn't just wildly modify the bodywork, and tire sizes were heavily restricted. Nissan realized that minor tweaks just weren't going to cut it anymore. They needed a radical, ground-up challenger.
So the development mission became clear, and it was totally uncompromising. To beat the Sierra RS500, Nissan calculated they needed a staggering 600-plus horsepower. A massive joint effort was launched around 1988 between Nissan's Opama Sports Vehicle Development Center, Nismo, and Nissan Koki, who handled the engine. Together, they developed the now-immortal 2.6-liter twin-turbo RB26 DETE engine. But here is the genius part. They knew that dumping 600-plus horsepower to just the rear wheels on those heavily restricted Group A tires would result in a spinning, uncontrollable mess. They needed a way to physically stick that immense power to the ground.
Part 2. Anatomy of the Beast.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the acronym ATTETSE. This right here is the secret sauce. This is exactly what made Godzilla unbeatable. The Advanced Total Traction Engineering System for All-Electronic Torque Split. Before this, four-wheel drive was mostly seen as a utility feature, for off-roading or driving in the snow. It definitely wasn't for carving corners on a dry racetrack. Nissan completely revolutionized that entire concept.
So how did this torque split actually work? Well, traditional four-wheel drive can induce severe understeer. Nissan engineers wanted the sharp, agile cornering of a rear-wheel drive sports car combined with the unstoppable grip of four-wheel drive when accelerating out of a corner. So, under normal straight-line driving or braking, the ATTSE ETS system sends 100% of the power to the rear wheels. It drives exactly like a classic rear-wheel drive sports car. But the magic happens when slip is detected. The system can instantly send up to 50% of that massive twin-turbo power to the front wheels. Let's break down how this physically happens mid-corner. Step 1, the car sensors are monitoring wheel speed in milliseconds. The exact moment it detects the rear wheels starting to spin out of control, it acts. Step 2, a transfer case equipped with a wet multi-plate clutch is engaged by the car's electronic brain. Step 3, power is dynamically bled to the front wheels. Think of it like a safety net that you don't even notice until you're literally about to fall. The driver just feels this endless physics-defying grip. This allowed the massive power of that RB26 engine to be perfectly translated into forward momentum, drastically improving the car's traction capability.
Part 3. A Path of Destruction.
By 1990, all those engineering theories were about to become terrifying realities for the competition. Let's set the scene. March 1990, the All-Japan Touring Car Championship, or JTC, at the West Japan Circuit. 41,000 fans packed the stands to see this highly anticipated debut. Nissan fielded two cars, the blue Calisonic GTR, driven by Kazuyoshi Hoshino and Toshio Suzuki, and the Reebok GTR, driven by Masahiro Hasumi and Anders Olafsson. In qualifying, Hoshino secured pole position by a massive 2-second margin over the Ford Sierra. 2 seconds in racing is a literal eternity. During the race, the two GTRs completely obliterated the field. The Calsonic car finished first, lapping every single car on the track except for the second-place Reebok GTR. It was an absolute massacre.
But I want to pause here for a second to humanize this engineering triumph, because despite that overwhelming victory, the Calsonic car was actually severely wounded. During the race, rapid shifting caused the gears to double mesh, effectively locking the car in third gear. The drivers had to nurse it to the finish line using incredible skill. When Kazuyoshi Hoshino, a guy known as the fastest man in Japan, crossed the finish line, he actually broke down in tears. It just goes to show you the sheer immense pressure placed on this development team and these drivers. Failure was absolutely not an option.
So the crucial point is this number right here, 29. From its debut in 1990 until the end of the Group A era in 1993, the R32 Skyline GTR entered 29 races in the All Japan Touring Car Championship, and it won 29 times. It was an unprecedented, unbelievable, consecutive, undefeated streak. By 1991, the top class of the championship practically became a GTR one-make race, simply because if you weren't driving a GTR, you had zero chance of winning.
Let's see how this built a global path of destruction. Because it wasn't just Japan. The GTR was shipped to Australia to compete in the legendary Bathurst 1,000-kilometer endurance race. Now, Bathurst was holy ground for the fierce tribal rivalry between local manufacturers Ford and Holden. Then, the GTR showed up. It won Bathurst in 1991, and it won it again in 1992. The local fans and media were completely stunned. This Japanese monster had invaded and shattered their domestic rivalry. And this is exactly when the Godzilla moniker was truly cemented globally.
And the consequence of all this dominance, the GTR was simply too fast. Despite race organizers piling on weight handicaps and engine restrictors trying to slow the car down, the engineers at Nismo just kept refining it and winning anyway. Ultimately, the GTR didn't just get banned, it effectively killed the entire Group A racing category. The organizers realized the formula was broken because absolutely no one could compete with Nissan's technological marvel. For the final JTC Group A race at Fuji Speedway in 1993, a record 100,000 fans showed up just to witness the end of an era.
Part 4. The Monster's Lasting Legacy. Let's look at what this machine meant to the people who actually piloted it. The legendary Drift King, Keiichi Tsuchiya, famously said of the Group A GTR, "It was the car that made me think, I've become a real professional." Tsuchiya explained that driving it wasn't just about steering. It required mastering massive weight transfer using only the throttle and brake pedals. It was a vehicle that demanded absolute elite-level skill from its driver to unlock its true potential. It literally separated the amateurs from the masters. And this brilliantly illustrates the technological legacy. The Ateza ETS system wasn't just a flash in the pan. It was so incredibly advanced that variations of it continued to be used in Nissan vehicles, like the R33, R34, the R35 GTR, and it even survived all the way until 2022 in the Y51 Fuga sedan. Today, the direct spiritual successor to that 1989 technology is Nissan's E4ORC system used in their modern electric vehicles. The philosophy of dynamically splitting power between front and rear to achieve perfect grip and stability remains exactly the same, it's just evolved from mechanical clutches to fully electric motor integration.
Ultimately, the R32 GTR matters because it wasn't just a fast car. It set a 29.0 record that will likely never be matched. It literally forced international motorsport to change its rules because it was just too good. It transformed four-wheel drive from a snowy weather utility into a precision track weapon. And in doing so, it birthed a cult following that reveres the Godzilla name to this very day. It represents a brief, shining moment where engineers were given a singular goal: to win. And they over-delivered so spectacularly that they broke the game.
So I'll leave you with this thought. In today's highly regulated, highly constrained era of motorsports, where parity is carefully managed by governing bodies, will we ever see a machine engineered so radically, so uncompromisingly, that it rewrites the rules of the sport so violently ever again? Or was the R32 GTR a one-of-a-kind monster, a true Godzilla that can never be repeated? Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible piece of engineering history. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.